record. I don't know why, the apprehension. Always. Well, here we are. I think about my video all week, and usually it never comes out the way I planned. And simultaneously, I'll be working on editing another video. So thinking about one, cleaning up another. And this is what I've been thinking about. A thought is so fleeting. I usually try not to hold on to thoughts until they keep coming around. In research, this is an example. Something that keeps coming around. You can't hold on to everything at once. You can only pay attention to one thing. And oftentimes, unfortunately, in our lives, that is distractions, problems that we think we have. And so if a thought comes around once, twice, thrice, we can pay attention to it. It's a big one. And now this could be, again, research like this, or it could be a great desire of yours that is not so clear yet. Or it could be a negative thought, and these are the worst. They consume so much of our attention and distract us from whatever it is we want. They rob us of our peace of mind. And as I've said, most people believe that they are their thoughts. Thoughts are just a byproduct of your beliefs. Sometimes they're useful, but often become like a bad movie, replaying over and over in your mind, ultimately taking you away from the present moment, distracting you from your awareness of being. So today we're gonna look at things in my backyard. I thank you all for being here. I love you all. God bless and welcome. Sorry about the rant, but it was the backstory to today's exploration. So, Utah and the Mormons. The Mormons are said to have trekked across from Illinois here, Nauvoo, to Utah, across the middle of the country. This part wouldn't be bad, perhaps a lot of rivers to cross, but the mountainous Rockies would be another story. Somewhere in the region of 1,000 miles, 11 or 1,200 miles to be precise. 1,200 miles. There we go. And they arrived to Salt Lake City here. In fact, this canyon is called Immigration Canyon. This is the canyon they came through. It's actually not even the good one. Today, the good one is Parley's here, which is Interstate 80. They roll in with their oxen and wagons through this canyon and settle in this valley. They built a monument up here on this peak. I used to hike it with my dog. It's called Ensign Peak, and you have this monument up there. And we're told this is where they surveyed the valley from. A really cool place to go, and there's little caves on this side, and there's coyotes over here. But anyway, shortly after arriving, according to history, within 2 or 3 years, he sends a party to settle another area down south. And here we can see Salt Lake City. And down here we can see a town called Manti. Sounds like praying mantis, or at least conjures up those images to me. It's 100 miles, but it's 100 difficult miles. You can't just cut through this lake like I've done here. You have to cut through these mountains. And a very difficult thing to do only 3 years after you arrive via wagon and oxen. And yet I think we have an important clue here in this town. It's really nothing more than a town today. Nobody goes here. Nobody cares about Manti. And nobody would ever build a town out here. Here's what they would do. They would farm it. If there wasn't a town here, they would just farm. Here you have another little town, Ephraim. And I thought we'd have a little look at Manti history in today's video. Manti is a city in San Pete County. Population in 2020 was 3,400. 3,400. Manti was the first community in Utah to be settled outside the Wasatch Front. Here we're told Chief Walkara, a Ute tribal leader, invited Brigham Young to send pioneers to the area to teach his people the techniques of successful farming. There we go. What did I say? Here they tell us in 1849, Brigham Young dispatched a company of about 225 people to the present location of Manti. They endured a severe winter and lived in temporary shelters dug into the side of a hill, which is now the Manti Temple. Manti was incorporated in 1851. Okay, so that seems to have moved pretty quickly. I mean, we're incorporating? What are we incorporating in 1851? 2 years after Brigham Young dispatches a company, we are incorporating? That's it? We're just incorporating is essentially saying you have a town and you create a corporation to both govern the town and collect fees from the people. And then we're told relations with the Native Americans deteriorated rapidly, and soon there was a war. So this guy invited them here, according to this wiki, which I don't believe. The man invites them to this valley, and pretty soon they're having a war, of course. So they go on, and eventually the Native Americans lose and are relocated to the Uinta Reservation in northeastern Utah. A real dump. So that's what they say. And like I said, you know how I feel about that. But thank God we're not a bunch of ignorant asses in this community. And that's part of doing good research. Sharing and getting feedback in a community and not operating as an island. This tidbit was shared with me by the channel Streets of Tartaria some time ago now. And what it is the official journal of discourses, carefully safe kept by Mormon historians. And this is a discourse by President Heber Kimball, delivered in the Tabernacle, Great Salt Lake City, October 7th, 1852. 1852. And what does Mr. Kimball tell us? And this man is really serious. You can tell he's not here to bullshit us. So what say you, Mr. Kimball? In the Journal of Discourses, Part 1, 294 to 295. So here he begins by discussing Iron County, which is interesting that all these places are named before they're settled or incorporated. Those brethren in Iron County are ironmongers. Ironmongers. They were the first to go into the iron and coal business and leave their farms. There are somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 acres of land under cultivation in those valleys that you can have the privilege of purchasing. So inheriting, you can have the privilege of these ironmongers' land. So this is very interesting. At first we read about the Native Americans inviting Mormon leaders to this area, and now we learn from the Mormon accounts that there's ironmongers that are cultivating land. Some ironmongers, very sophisticated, and they're going to give the privilege of purchasing these lands to their people. Furthermore, he goes on to say, in the city of Manti, which is our topic of discussion today, half of the houses are vacant. Again, let's look at the date. Here, this is 1852, the beginning as far as the Mormon history is concerned. And he says, in the city of Manti, half of the houses are vacant. There are houses enough empty there to accommodate 50 or 100 families. In Iron County, which is where the ironmongers were, also there are similar advantages. Basically hundreds of vacant houses. 1852. So this is vastly different than the story we read here, that they were invited by Native Americans only to have a war with them and relocate them. Great, but no talk of hundreds of empty homes in both of these counties. And again, everything is named. Go to the city of Manti, not go to this valley and build, as we read here. Go to the city of Manti. Half of the houses are empty. It reaches a point. I mean, I lead up to it, and then we reach the point. That was the point. This story that I'm telling today consists of two stories. The mainstream, which will be the academic version, and then the religious story. And this is only 1850. This is the actual account of the people that settled this state. We don't have to ask what happened or how is it possible. This is proof that the history we have been sold is a bunch of BS. Now for the next part, I want to show you the best part of Manti. So Manti, we're told in Wikipedia they endured a severe winter by living in temporary shelters dug into the hill on which the Manti Temple now stands. Quite a different story than the official Mormon history. In this official Mormon history, the Mormon leader is telling them to go to a city where half of the houses are vacant, not to dig temporary shelters into a hill to survive a blistering cold winter. But anyway, the Manti Temple is built by the Church of Latter-day Saints. So here we go. Officially, we're told this temple was completed in 1888. Boom. We're also told they dug their shelters somewhere into this hill. 1888. And this is what they built 100 miles away from Salt Lake City. Really fascinating castle. Giant wall around it. It really doesn't look like a temple. And all their original temples are the most beautiful. Everything they've built after 1950, or when they really started building them, pales in quality and beauty as we see in these older temples. But again, they tell us this was the third, built west of the Mississippi River. Really ambitious. I mean, your third temple, and not even in Salt Lake City. Out in Farmville here, as I showed you a minute ago. This doesn't make any sense for this temple. Again, a community, present day, 3,000 people. How about 1888? 1,700 people. Let's just say all of them went to church. This? Really? Here we can see some people down here looking at the flowers. Very pretty. Here another peek at the front. This looks like the entrance. And I want to say I don't know. And of course I don't know. But what it seems like is that if they're sending their people to what they call the city of Manti and telling them that half of the houses are empty, I think we know who was occupying these cities. The other half, and they were relocated, as we read, to a reservation. It's pretty safe to say that this is a smoking blank in the middle of nowhere. Again, let me show you where this is. It's out of the way for anybody. This whole zone here. The only more out of the way is if you were to go east here a little bit. I don't want to get off topic, but yeah. So let's look at something else. Ooh, okay, part 2. I don't know why that kicked my ass. I think because when I sit on the computer, I'm a little tense. I'm not sitting straight, not even thinking about my comfort. It's like all brain and pointing and clicking. The key is to relax. Relax every muscle. Relax your breath, your face, your mind. And then integrate that into your everyday activities. Slowly. So here I'm looking at a map. Still on topic. This is a map of part of the 1776 Dominguez Escalante map depicting parts of the present-day southern Wasatch Range and the West Desert near Utah and severe lakes. So the map is Utah. Here we go. I could get rid of that. Anyway, a map. Spanish. 1776. Utah. And what do we see? Well, we see their little trail here, which is actually present-day Interstate 15. Coincidence? I-15 runs straight north from Las Vegas to Idaho, into Montana, and eventually into Canada. Really cool. I'm gonna have to take it one of these days. Great Falls, here I come. Let's have a little look. Ooh, super circuit boardy. It's like a pretty great city. Packed, totally laid out perfectly on a river. Probably a lot to explore here. But anyway, this map, 1776. We see the I-15 corridor, and then it looks like it cuts over into I-80, or Parley's Canyon, as I showed you at the beginning of the video. Or this might be Provo Canyon, the one before it. Sorry, I'm such a basket case today. Anyway, the Spanish map would have gone up through here, through I-15, and then it looks like it cuts in to either I-40 here, or this Highway 6. I think it's probably the Highway 6, but it could be either of these. And what do we see on the old Spanish map? They were following not only the interstate, but probably pillaging gold from these already existing cities. And not just cities, but castle-bearing cities, as we can see here. All the way from St. George, as we can see, I believe, depicted here as Saint Joseph. And now this ties everything together, in my opinion. How could they have been so confident on settling this area? And I think we have absolute proof here, not only with the help of these old Mormon historical accounts, but even here in this 1776 Escalante map. It's all here. One of these here may be the Manti Temple. We see San Mateo depicted here. We see the Lago Timpanogos, which looks like the Great Salt Lake. And the Timpanogos are the natives, another tribe that was displaced. And down here we see the Lago Salado, which I believe is Utah Lake. And I think Salado must mean salty. Salty Lake. Very fascinating exploration today, even for me, who had an idea of where I was going. I hope I've made a good case, and I hope you've enjoyed. I thank you all for being here. I love you all. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.